Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson's official spokesman says he'll take some time to be with his family after the birth of his approximately 12th child, but will balance that with his responsibilities as Prime Minister. This is the guy that we're told by countless thousands of uninformed voters is doing his best. A serial holiday taker and dressing up aficionado, he has never made any attempt to do his best in an entire life of shirking, narcissism, hiding, lying, procrastinating and passing the buck. Using paternity leave as a cover, I doubt we'll see him take on any Prime Ministerial duties this side of Christmas, and in this video I'll be looking at the chances of whether he'll even be Prime Minister come the new year. Stay tuned. If you enjoy the channel, please give this video a like, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of future videos. The latest Survation poll show Labour continuing to pull away from the Conservatives, and although we're potentially 2 or 3 years away from a general election, backbench Tory MPs are getting restless. The traditional One Nation Conservatives realise that Johnson is not and has never been one of them. He was anointed leader because he was seen as an electoral asset. But as he has turned the Tory party into just a more extreme version of UKIP, and as his authority and credibility drain away, he's now become an electoral liability for them. Those Tories in the former Red Wall seats who are lent the pro-Brexit vote know they're on borrowed time for as long as Johnson remains Prime Minister. His premiership has been dogged by mistake after mistake, from total mismanagement of the COVID pandemic, giving the UK one of the highest per capita death rates in the world, spaffing £50-odd billion on PPE and a useless track and trace system, with most of that public money seemingly ending up in the pockets of Tory donor companies, associates and cronies and family. An absence of clarity and leadership, from the mixed messaging at the beginning of the pandemic to the latest fiasco and lies surrounding illegal Downing Street parties during lockdown. The exposure of literally hundreds of lies told inside and outside Parliament, many documented in Peter Stevanovich's brilliant video. The U-turn on promises over HS2. The embarrassing speeches at COP22 and at the CBI.
Broadband. Forgive me. Forgive me.
With gibbering nonsense about Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy and Peppa Pig. After Cameron's Filate-gate, the Bullingdon Club has a lot to answer for when it comes to Tory Prime Ministers and pigs. But more importantly, Johnson's not even delivered on his core electoral promise to get Brexit done, even if the voting public seem to be unaware of this. The implementation of Brexit import controls, a full half of the Brexit trade agreement, has still not happened, alongside threats from Johnson to withdraw from the very Brexit agreement he negotiated, agreed to and implemented less than 12 months ago. And on top of that, this party of supposed low taxation has given the British public the heaviest peacetime tax burden in history. Doing his best? It's hard to imagine him doing worse. I could go on, and in fact I will. There's the lying to the Queen, the illegal proroguing or suspension of Parliament, the heartbreaking and unnecessary suffering of NAZANIN ZAGHARI-RATCLIFFE and her family, with her rotting in custody in Iran, just because of Johnson's own thoughtless words and the inaction of both him and the uncaring, unengaged and completely pointless Liz Truss. At a time when Johnson needs to be leading the country through this continuing and deadly pandemic, which is bringing the chronically underfunded NHS to its knees, he is instead lurching from one crisis to another of his own making, dealing with issues caused by his own mistakes, which distracts resources and attention from the pressing issues of the public health crisis, the failed Brexit deal and the broken social care system. And still, this blonde gibbering gibbon is doubling down on denials of any knowledge about the lockdown parties in Downing Street, while at the same time subverting a Met Police investigation by instead promising an inquiry by his tame Cabinet Secretary Simon Case, who himself may or may not have been at one of those very same parties he's been tasked with investigating. And in coming to his conclusions, Simon Case will surely remember the fate of the former Standards chief, Sir Alex Allen, who found himself out of a job after he had the audacity to find that Priti Patel was guilty of breaking the ministerial code through her systematic bullying of staff across 3 different government departments. I don't think Simon Case clearing the Prime Minister of any knowledge of the parties will hold any credibility with the voting public, or backbench MPs for that matter. Johnson is now getting it so badly wrong, he's becoming a liability to the Tories and an asset to the Labour Party. I'm sure Keir Starmer would love for Johnson to keep his job right through to the next election. Alex de Pfeffel is now fighting so many scandals on so many fronts, and there are signs that there are many more to come as his reign continues to fall apart. So some insiders will find the courage to become whistleblowers, and to be honest, I can't wait. I was listening to Ian Dale's phone-in show on LBC on Thursday. Now, Ian's a good presenter, what I call a sensible Tory, and his audience are primarily Tory-leaning voters of all shades of blue. Caller after caller was saying Johnson should resign, with some saying they cancelled their membership of the party and would never vote Tory again as long as Johnson was in charge. And that was even before the latest revelations of a £17,800 fine being levied by the Electoral Commission over the funding of Johnson's flat renovation, with written evidence being produced that Johnson had lied, requesting funds from a wealthy Tory peer and then subsequently denying he knew where the money had come from. In this febrile atmosphere, the Sun, Mail and Express tabloids are becoming openly hostile to Johnson, with multiple anti-Boris headlines in each issue, even if the Tory graph is holding firm in its support. For now. This week also saw Johnson's press secretary, Allegra Stratton, in floods of tears, offering her resignation after being caught on film back in 2020, joking about one of the illegal parties held in Downing Street. Something, she claimed through her tears and sobs, that she will regret for the rest of her life. Regret getting caught on film, more like. She had a whole year to regret it before the film saw the light of day this week. Funny that, isn't it? Genuine remorse would be better shown by fessing up to all the information she knew about that and other illegal parties in Downing Street during that lockdown. No sympathy from me, just another Tory covering up the excesses of her party. Her boss didn't hesitate to throw her and her colleagues under the bus, saying he was furious about the leaked footage of a mocked-up press conference in which aides joked about a Christmas party, which he and his team insisted for a week hadn't actually happened. Cue Johnson in the coming weeks firing loyal subordinates to protect his own lard arse once he's allowed the steam to escape from the pressure cooker during a protracted inquiry by the house-trained Simon Case. And then that man Dominic Cummings put it back on the hot plate by tweeting that yet another party was held in Johnson's own Downing Street flat on the evening Cummings was fired. And all this coming close on the heels of the Owen Paterson debacle, where Tory MPs were whipped to defend the indefensible in an ultimately futile attempt to rewrite parliamentary standards just to protect Johnson's buddy Paterson. It's no wonder that Johnson is struggling to muster support for his Plan B measures to tackle the latest wave of COVID. Some Tory MPs, such as Roger Gale, are now openly revolting against the Tory leadership. Another senior MP, Mark Harper, the former chief whip, says the credibility of those at the very top has been seriously damaged. And many other MPs, responding to genuine anger amongst their constituents, are now openly defying their leader and their whips. Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross told Sky News Mr Johnson should resign if he was found to have misled Parliament about the party. And the former Scottish Conservative leader Ruth Davidson accused the Prime Minister of taking the public for fools. Millions of voters have seen the mock-up press conference footage leaked to ITV News, and it's made a real impact across the political spectrum. According to a poll by Sky News this week, fewer than 1 in 10 people believe the Prime Minister when he says there wasn't a party at number 10. At the very time that we need clarity and leadership and a Prime Minister with authority and credibility, we have a narcissist who cares only about himself and who believes that rules are just for the little people. As the polls continue to swing away from the Tories and the Labour lead increases and the scandals keep on coming, let's remember that MPs supported Johnson only because they saw him as a winner. Turns out, he's a loser, and Sir Graham Brady can expect to have more letters of no confidence submitted by MPs over the next few weeks to add to those he has already received.